Okay, so we're back with the Entrepreneurial Brain, and I've got Petra with me today. Welcome, Petra.
Thanks.
The Entrepreneurial Brain is your framework for democratizing entrepreneurship, and we've done various sessions on the elements of the entrepreneurial brain, the dynamic states we've covered extensively in previous videos, and then we've also covered mindset and team, the mindset and team pathways, but today we're going to jump to the solutions pathway, and Petra and I are going to talk you through some of our thinking on the solutions pathway. So we see the solutions pathway as being about the application of the capabilities, practices, and tools that deliver value to the customer. The notion that anything is possible and you need to go into some discovery. So Petra, do you want to...
Yeah. Okay, so just around the discovery, I think what we discussed last was is very often that we restrict ourselves to only where we come from and where we think we're capable of going. And that as entrepreneurs, we usually feel or often feel that we have to take control of everything and we have to do everything. And it becomes like our baby that we have to birth and nurture and do everything ourselves. So I think the idea of getting stuck or not stuck or staying a bit in this discovery phase or area for a while is to perhaps get ourselves out of that and think from the outside to outside in.
Yeah, so make sure we get out of the building and understand customer context, eh?
I think so. Have a look at what it looks like out there. Perhaps walk a bit in someone else's shoes, as we said before. Perhaps check out social media and see areas where the same type of issues pop up, because typically those would be issues that resonate with you and that probably intuitively you have a suggestion or a value offering that you've already thought of before, but the timing might not have been right.
Really listening to the voice of the customer, you know,
Exactly.
and understanding the customer environment, but also then making sure that you start to get stuff done, you know, so probably start to experiment and validate a bit before you jump to solutions.
I think, sorry, one of the things we've discussed before as well is the whole idea of, you know, I have an idea, and often that is considered to be the ultimate point of an entrepreneur's life. And that it's, as you said, very important to not get stuck in the idea, because it's the execution that makes it worth anything. So
absolutely.
the idea by itself, is not sufficient.
Yeah, and I think what's important is to then start to connect ideas, you know, and understand what's out there, the services that are out there. So that goes to orchestration.
Yeah, I think what has changed nicely, especially with COVID, and being more open on platforms and being more open because more people are comfortable using the internet, going there. We can't walk and have the face-to-face meetings that we used to have, is that suddenly it actually becomes easier to share ideas. So whereas in the past it was me and you sharing an idea, the forums are getting bigger and people are more open to sharing what they have. So the fact, as you say, that in the past something was considered to be, or I had to build everything I need, now anything is a service, and I can use what's already there and build on top of it, and it's becoming easier.
It's amazing how many people are now prepared to collaborate and open to, you know, offering their ideas with your ideas, so that the sum of the parts is greater than the whole. So this whole idea of sort of co-creating and leveraging open innovation.
Yeah, I think so. In the past, it has been very much that it's my idea and I need to protect it at all costs, and nobody else should know about it. And it makes it really hard to develop it to the point where it becomes a viable value offering that you can put in the market.
What comes to mind is you know, the end of competitive advantage that Rita McGrath wrote a couple of years back. I think that's really starting to come to the fore. And old Peter Thiel's 0 to 1, you know, the idea, the notion that don't compete on other people's terms, you know, find your own sort of value proposition, clear value proposition to compete on. But before we get there, as you start to unpack the solutions that you're going to put together, I think automation is really a foundational.
I think so, because it gives you the opportunity, I think, to focus on your strengths and to gradually let go of this baby that you're bringing to life, and this offering that needs to grow. So if we can somehow just pull back a bit from being in total control as an entrepreneur and start automating those repetitive tasks, making sure that we know which ones we should be automating, which ones we should hold on to, and how to measure them. When do I know I'm in trouble in that I let go too soon of a certain aspect of my business, and when I actually did myself a favor and my business a favor and I'm allowing it to grow because I automate certain things. And also, I think being honest to say that there are obviously, and I think marketing is the first thing that comes to mind. It's often very hard for an entrepreneur to market their own product or service. And that's typically something where you can think about insourcing. I think you quite rightly said that outsourcing is a very corporate term, and it sounds like you're letting go of control, and it's something out there that you should then very carefully watch. And whereas if we think about it as insourcing, it means that it's still part of my business. It's just a skill that I don't need to develop now, and I can just stick to my strengths, perhaps, rather.
Yeah, I mean, one of the toughest things about being a solopreneur or a small business is that you feel like you have to do everything, you know, from washing the dishes to cleaning the floors to, you know,
Exactly.
to doing the bookkeeping and accounting and everything. And you really shouldn't do that. You know, you really should make sure that, you know, you have an accountant as a simple example. If your business is not about accounting, you know, so make sure that you're working on the business, not in the business. You know, you're not working in the business on marketing and accounting and all the things that your business is not about. So let go of those things and automate as much as possible. You know, there's so many automation possibilities with you know, the various tools like Zapier and the like, you know, that you really should be looking at, especially in the field of marketing automation. It's progressed massively, and there are inexpensive tools for that. So, you know, get yourself going with automation as early as possible, especially on the things that are not your business, the things that are in your business that will help you to scale. So set that foundation for scaling through doing that.
And then, just thinking about, especially as you were saying, things like marketing and how easy it is to get lost in it if you try to do it yourself and this is not your forte, as opposed to using somebody else, because what becomes really nice is that immediately you have an objective third party that you can soundboard against. So instead of criticizing your own efforts, number one, you can criticize what they are doing, and in that process you refine your own value proposition, your own understanding and ability to articulate what you're putting into the market.
When we start looking at digitalization, what do you think, Petra?
I think the whole idea or the concept that the way that I define my customer and also what I know about my customer and the way that I engage with my customer is changing, but it's still extremely important because it's true. I think people have little buzzwords about you know, big data and stuff like that and how important it is, but I think what it has done, the fact that we are able to actually run a business purely on a digital platform, is that I have better data about a customer. I don't have somebody's opinion of my customer where I had a salesperson that interacted with them and now I need to hear from them who my customer is and what they would really like. I have the ability to engage directly. People are more prone to engage directly with me if my business is available on a digital platform. People use social media more. So I have a lot more data around them, and I think they share more freely than they would do in a face-to-face conversation. So the ability to build a better profile about who your customer really is has grown exponentially, which is such a good word to use because it really has. I don't need to rely on other people's interpretations. I can see what my customer is doing. I have better history, usage analytics around what they are interested in, what they buy, and what they would like to get.
Yeah, and that customer context gives us the opportunity for hyper-personalization. And I mean, that sounds complicated, and you know, when you mention big data, I'm thinking just start with small data, you know, and understand the real personal data of the customer without abusing it in the context of the value that you're providing to them. But then also create this thing of advocacy. Do you want to elaborate on that a bit?
Yeah, I think in the past we had these customer satisfaction programs, and you know, you could press a button on the countertop to say smiley face, not so smiley face, very angry face, and this is just way past that point where we suddenly have the ability to say, tell people about who I am in the past. That's loyalty. And now people are saying, you don't need to tell me that. I really like what you're offering. I'm really enjoying the service that you're providing. So they advocate through their own social media platforms about who you are, what you can do. And it has a ripple effect because I don't need to push people to say, I like your service. It's becoming easy to see and it's more visible because it is on a digital platform as well.
And you need to really think about using that as a fan base that attracts other customers.
Yeah. I think they are, when I speak to smaller companies, often they forget about the value. And, it's like somebody gave me a compliment. Awesome. It's mine and I keep it. And to start changing your mindset and say, won't you just tell it to the camera? Or can I just take a picture? Or can I just show what you like?
When we get onto, the sort of level of almost the holy grail, the nirvana of digitalization and the whole digital ecosystem is platforms. So when we can all be platform businesses, we'll all be as successful as Amazon and Google. But in the meantime, what is it about? How can we think about this ecosystem business concept?
So I think the platform businesses give such a nice platform, but it creates that ecosystem where I can have a multi-sided platform and somebody produces value or a service or a product that somebody else consumes, but the guy who's consuming now is also the same guy who produces for someone else. And we're exchanging value and information and currency on a digital basis without ever physically seeing each other, getting into touch with each other. And it becomes a community, I think, who looks after itself. There's definitely governance issues and stuff, but there's a network effect because everybody in this nirvana is working together for the greater good. Everybody has something to share, and it doesn't have to happen. So I'm just enabling, if I'm a platform business, somebody to do this, which I love.
We're all sharing and enabling each other, and we're all engaging to, as you say, for the greater good, which sounds a bit idealistic, but if you think about the Google ecosystem and how people are able to build apps that become part of the ecosystem that can potentially make them millions, that whole ecosystem is self-perpetuating, and it's a virtuous circle of value. But really creating that exponential opportunity for sharing and leveraging value is I guess, the fundamental of a platform ecosystem. This is not a small topic. It can actually become quite complex, and we don't intend to cover all the complexities of platform ecosystem businesses here in this one, but it's the nirvana of the solution from a digital business perspective in future. And I guess in future, all businesses have to be digital as far as possible, but we need to make sure that the sharing and connectivity part and the engagement part remains as human as possible at the same time. So awesome. Thanks, Petra. Do you want to?
I think the only thing I feel is that when I think about what democratizing entrepreneurship is about, to me, it's towards working like this. So whether everything we do is digital or not is not the point, but it is to remember that I don't have to do it on my own. That there's really a community who cares and who's very able and willing to share what they have.
Absolutely. And if you think about how we've brought entrepreneurs in, helped them clarify their value proposition, started to promote that for them, to help them run workshops to get the exposure and get further business out of that, and start to really digitize as much as possible of the value. That's exactly what you're talking about. So that's great. Thanks so much.
Cool. Thanks, Craig.